You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Good to go.
Good to go.
Good to go. Lotion on the skin.
It's just like I'm so dry.
Or else it gets wet again.
The hose.
You know, I didn't know what that was for a really long time.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
He's gonna spray her. Like, psh. That's a punishment. Psh.
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about just what it was from. Not
Oh.
necessarily the act of
Silence of the Lambs.
I didn't know that.
How did you not know that?
I wasn't allowed to watch that movie, obviously, when I was a child. Because it came out when we were not little, but it came out when we were kids.
Yeah.
And wasn't allowed to watch it.
Okay.
And so I didn't really have a context for what it was. And the only thing I knew of Silence of the Lambs was like classics. I thought Silence of the Lambs was about
Mary
Anthony
had a little
Hopkins.
lamb. Anthony Hopkins.
and Jodie Foster.
Okay.
So I didn't have any contextual understanding that there was some other serial
Okay.
killer that it was about.
How old were you when you figured it out?
Like in my adult life when I saw the movie.
Okay, so it wasn't like last week.
Not quite.
Because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens in life. I've been there. I unfortunately was allowed to watch that movie.
Oh,
and
no.
yes, I have seen all the movies.
Really? You watched it when you were little?
So,
That sucks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a good movie. Just not for children.
There's a lot of those movies that I was able to watch as a child that I will not watch as an adult.
Right.
And I can't think of the last time I've watched that movie.
It's a good movie.
And it's not that it's not a good movie. It's just not like, you know what I'm in the mood for right now?
It's not a great movie, though.
I'm in the mood for some, yeah. So, no, I haven't seen that movie in, I don't even know how long. Like I said, years and years and years and years. But there are definite scenes that aren't going anywhere.
Right.
And it's so funny how many scenes you have as a child. Like your child brain, how you see them. So there have been things that you obviously have gone back and watched that are different than you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then other times you're like, why in the hell was I allowed to watch this? I'm traumatized now. You let the child, like,
The
my
80s
feet
were,
couldn't even touch the floor yet. Why was I watching this?
The 80s were such a special time for movies. We really got a lot of really great films during that decade.
Yeah.
And also, like, the majority of PG rated movies were actually R.
Oh my gosh.
They just didn't know better. And so, yeah, there was a lot of sex and violence and nudity and swearing and all sorts of different stuff in Disney films back in the 80s.
Right? My favorite is when we would sit down to watch, like, one of these good movies from, not a scary movie.
Yeah.
We're like, well, we watched Silence of the Lambs, so you can. It wasn't like that. Just things like, I'm going blank now.
Yeah, there's plenty.
That we didn't remember that was like being so, bad.
That we'd watch with the kids.
And then it was that, like, oh God, oh
Yeah.
God, oh God, oh
We're
God,
really
oh God,
sorry.
oh God, oh God.
We forgot
What
about
do we
this
do?
part.
And then it's like, why won't this end? It's like, what do we do? Do we knock them out and like try and hide them? Do we try and break the TV?
Yeah.
It's just like you sit there for a minute and like hope it's a flash, and then it's not a flash. It keeps happening, and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Yeah, those are awkward things because it's like you don't think you have to pre-watch kid movies that you watched when you were a kid with your kid, but you do.
Sometimes you got to go
sometimes.
double check the IMDb before you push play.
And I'm trying to remember what the last one was. I'm like,
Desperado.
Was it? Oh, Jesus Christ. Yep. That
It was Desperado.
That wasn't a kid movie though.
It definitely wasn't.
But that was definitely
I watched it when I was a kid, but
wow.
no, because it came out when I watched it when I was probably 12 or 13.
Yeah.
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 So-
All the shows. All the shows. All the shows.
So this month, the month of May,
Now we know why we're mentally ill.
right? Now we know what the cause was. Silence of the Lambs made us
Right.
mentally ill. But this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we talk about mental health on this podcast damn near every episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that we almost take for granted sometimes, that we forget to, I don't know, maybe highlight it in a way or to bring awareness to it because we're just so ingrained in it.
Yeah.
And so it's like we decided we were going to sit down this episode and talk about not just mental health in general, but really talk about our mental health. And talk about it from the perspective of our entire life and how it's evolved and changed.
May is actually known for a few things.
What else?
And like that, I just want to we're going to talk about mental health, obviously.
It is known for that, right?
Yes, it is known for that.
I didn't just make that up.
There's a few things that get overlooked too. So I just wanted to, give a little bit. So there's Asian Pacific Heritage Month is also May, Jewish American Heritage Month, and National Stroke Awareness Month. So there's just a couple. I didn't want to just some recognition there. There's things that we don't have. I don't know what to say. Gosh, I don't know how to say this. I don't know. I'm not familiar with. There's things, but I still want to use the platform to say, hey, this is also a thing, and we should be talking about
place this month. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Seems like there's always stuff every month, though.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not minimizing anything, right? Everything should be highlighted. Everybody should be aware of as much as they possibly can, taking into consideration other humans.
Well, I had to look. It's not like, oh, I know that May is this. It's kind of, I feel bad that I had to look, but also it's okay. If you don't have information, go look.
Right.
Get curious and then let it rabbit hole. You're not bad because you don't know.
Yeah.
You're bad if you, you're not bad. Okay, yeah. Boy, what mental health do I suffer from?
It's been something that we have talked about on the podcast over the years. I shouldn't say ad nauseum. I don't think you can ever bring enough awareness to it. Do you want to go get your good stuff?
I do, but I don't want to get up.
Okay.
I don't want to get up during the podcast. I don't
Jeeves,
want to. Right?
Bring us the lotion.
Just
I wish we had somebody like that.
Yeah.
Would you be down for a butler?
Would I be down for a butler?
Like an Alfred?
Well, we do have Batman, so.
If Michael Caine wanted to come live with us and be Alfred, would you be okay with that?
I don't know how to answer that question, Craig.
I'm pretty okay with a butler.
Are you?
Yeah. Especially if it was Michael Caine.
I don't think Michael Caine's in that maybe,
that's
right?
The field of work that he's in
maybe
right now.
Maybe he's like, you know what? I actually found out that I was able to play these roles. This is my passion. So
his true calling in life.
His true calling is
butler.
to serve Batman.
Yeah.
And his socially awkward wife, who can't put on. Do you see how I'm putting on lotion? So I don't get it on the mic. I'm doing it like this. So I don't get it on the mic.
You did good.
I'm doing that for you. I don't mind
good.
if there's lotion fingerprints on the mic.
Yeah.
You cannot handle it. So that was my act of love for you. I do not like lotion that is loaded with perfume. And this is loaded with perfume. And that's all I can smell.
I can't not have a tickle in my throat when we come up to record.
Do you want to smell my candy apple hands?
Your candy apple
hands.
So we've been struggling to record episodes lately.
Yes, we have.
This month specifically. Over the past several weeks, we've been having a hard time coming up here and recording. You haven't known that because you're not living in our house except for Alfred the butler. But it's been really challenging because we've been going through a lot of emotional and mental health healing, truthfully.
Yeah.
And so it's perfect timing to talk about our mental health, and shouldn't be triggering at all.
No, we're fine.
But I want to I want to speak about these topics this next hour or so from a perspective of our personal experiences.
Okay.
We're not therapists. We're not psychologists. We're not doctors. We're not, I don't have a bachelor's degree in psychology. Stephanie does, but other than that,
I don't.
We just have a lifetime of experience
Talking about our experiences.
Our experiences, what we both deal with and experience on a regular basis, as well as some life experience that we've had, right? Because I've definitely had experience outside of my own personal mental health.
Same.
And so that's what I want to talk about. Even though it seems like we talk about it all the time, I think that it doesn't hurt to do an episode directly focused here.
I think it's beneficial.
So how would you like to start?
This isn't quite where we're going, but I heard something really like disturbing on the radio this morning.
You were listening to the radio?
When I was coming back from dropping off, and there was a doctor on the local radio station. And so people were calling in and getting advice from this doctor, because we know that how like doctors never steer you wrong, right?
Right.
There's good and there's bad. So this doctor was on there and he was giving advice, and a woman called in to get advice from this doctor because she takes, I believe she said Abilify, which is a medication that is really like for depression,
right?
And
it's a mental health medication.
So it's a mental health medication. She takes that. Her doctor that she's been going to, that's prescribing her this
Abilify. Okay.
Said, okay, she loves this. She loves it. She's had great results with it, and she's like, she doesn't want to get off of it. But the doctor is like, okay, you've been on this for a long time, and your age is getting up. This can start to cause other problems, and I think it's a good idea that we start to take you off of this medication.
Okay.
And so she calls in to say that too, and like wants the opinion of this doctor on the radio, that has never met her.
Okay.
And he's like, well, this is a wonderful drug. This has helped so many. I mean, yeah, there's a chance that it can do this, but it's so minimal. It's so minimal that like if it's working for you, you should absolutely keep taking it. And if your doctor doesn't agree with you, you should get a new doctor. Like, what the fuck? Did you just talk for 2 seconds? You told her to leave her doctor and keep when her doctor's like, I think this might harm you and we should probably look at other things. And he's like, nope, it's a great drug. There's such a small chance of you having any of these effects of it. Get a new doctor. And people are listening to that.
Right.
Like, what? So oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So keeping, also, what information are you getting from your doctors? Does it give you a comfort? Like, do you feel like something's wrong in your belly when you're getting information? Like, just, there's so much to look at that people, when you're struggling with mental, which we all are, we're all on the spectrum, but then the people that we're going to for help aren't always.
They're on that spectrum too.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
But like, that blew my mind. That blew my mind.
Gosh, that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
To think about, like, I mean, we all do that though. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, what? We make a quick assumption and a judgment and be like, whatever, get rid of that doctor. But you wouldn't expect that from a doctor.
Well,
right?
how does he not even, like, he has no patient history,
right?
No like rapport with this woman whatsoever. And he's like, no, you want to keep taking it, get a new doctor. Not
See,
like
the whole
this
idea that we need to seek a second opinion. Of course, that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
You need to get a second opinion on lots of stuff.
I think
not all doctors know everything,
yes.
Right?
You need a community, a team.
Exactly. But don't just find the opinion that you like.
That's it right there. She's like, nope, new doctor. I'm going to keep taking this. And maybe that is the best choice for her.
Exactly.
That could be the exact information she needs. She might have a terrible doctor, and this like seemingly bad advice was life-saving advice for her. And now this doctor that was like so many different possibilities. But like, we just have to be careful.
Yeah.
Like, I think just like information
we're
giving
advice
people
from a doctor on the radio, I would take it kind of like kind of like when you read your horoscope in the back of People magazine. I mean, that's not
you are more than your sun sign.
Yeah, that's not something to kind of base the rest of your life off of. That's something to be like, oh, that's interesting, and maybe it shapes that day for you, but maybe not meaning you should stop taking your mental health Abilify. Like, don't get off your antidepressants just because the radio doctor said so.
Or keep taking it when your doctor is like, this is going to physically harm you. It is not a good idea for you to be on it. Like, and if you really want to keep it, then yeah, second opinion. But it's with somebody who is like sitting with you, taking time, listening to you, not caller number 28. Go ahead. No. Like, do yourself, like, I don't know. You deserve a more thorough take on that. You deserve more care for yourself to sit down and have like real conversations with people that are going to be like looking in your eyes and getting to know you and finding out like, where are you? Is this harmful for you? Is this something that's going to help?
Agreed. So
Yeah, there's so much there.
mental health.
Mental
Health of Steph and Craig. Where do you want to start?
I just started.
Good job. I will continue. I took advice from a doctor on the radio once.
You did. Did you take the advice though?
I don't remember.
think you did.
I'd probably did.
I know it's in the podcast history.
Yeah.
You found the recording and
Yeah, it's on our Facebook page.
yeah, you can go listen.
You go check your way through that. These are all squirrels. Squirreling is a mental health issue.
Yes.
That's our ADHD.
Nuttier than squirrel poop.
So over the course of my life, I have had like next to no awareness in regards to my own mental health until I was probably in my mid-20s. And then I started to think about my mental health.
Yeah.
Think about maybe I have some mental health issues. Prior to that time period, prior to my mid-20s, growing up, teenage years, everything like that, even in my early 20s, it wasn't even something that was really on my radar. It was just how I am. This is just how I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just me. It wasn't even like, this is how I am. It was, this is me. This is who I am. This is how I think. This is how I feel. This is how I live and experience life. And now in my 40s, I can look back and I can see all of the mental health issues, not all of them. I'm sure there's some that I can't see, that I was experiencing from childhood onwards and upwards from childhood. So it wasn't a matter of, suddenly they start manifesting in my 20s. What started to manifest in my 20s was my actions and my behaviors in my life, specifically in my first marriage, started to affect the relationship and started to affect my life. And I was starting to have some addictive behaviors with, see, now I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about all of this stuff.
You don't have to.
I know, I'm trying to decide how I want to talk about my mental health.
You can leave it at addictive behaviors.
Yeah.
You don't have to, like, you can, but you don't have to, like.
Yeah.
Don't do yourself more harm by trying to shed light.
I know. I just like honest conversations about these things for the people that are listening, because I like listening to honest conversations about this stuff.
Okay. Are you ready to talk about those things?
I don't know.
Having an honest conversation, honoring where you are at and what you are willing to talk about is still an honest conversation.
Yeah.
And later, if that increases and you're like, wow, I am ready to talk about these things, then you talk about them and you're still having an honest conversation.
Maybe I can try a little bit.
Okay.
So some things that I learned in my 20s in regards to my mental health was some form of mood disorder or dysregulation. I'm so hesitant to use the labels that are used, bipolar or manic, or even though I probably fell on that spectrum during that time period of my life. But I think we get wrapped up in the label. And so somebody listening might hear that Craig was bipolar. And then that becomes the framework with which they think about me. But I don't have a problem if somebody's thinking that about me. The part that I struggle with is that we contextualize and label everybody in some way, shape, or form. And so rather than trying to use these labels to describe things and to label things, it's just a spectrum. So at some point if we look at the big mental health spectrum, I've been on like the crazy end spectrum, like psychotic to some extent, right? And then I've been like mildly depressed and all along the way.
All coping mechanisms for trauma.
Correct.
All of them. Like your body comes up with ways to survive trauma in sometimes chaotic ways.
In all sorts of different ways. Mm-hmm. So in my 20s, it was more about trying to regulate my moods and trying to regulate my actions and my behaviors, not looking at what was causing those actions or behaviors, what the undercurrent of everything was, but just looking at cause and effect. Why am I behaving like this and how can I fix it? I even tried, I think it was Lamictal or something, some mood altering medication for like 4 days or something. It was such a brief amount of time.
4 days?
It was so short.
Wow.
I don't even know if it was that long.
That's your experience with medications?
Yeah.
It's 4 days? I didn't know that.
I don't know if it was,
I'm not judging. I'm just surprised. Like, that's not. Wow.
Did you have it in your mind that it was longer than that?
Well, you said you've taken medication before. And so I thought that meant like you gave it a go.
Oh, I did.
For 4 days? Like,
I don't even think it was 4 days,
oh
Steph.
my goodness.
I think it was because it was a sample pack and it was supposed to be, I can't remember if it was like a 2-week sample pack or a month-long sample pack.
Okay.
And I started taking those and immediately I could feel something weird in my body.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck that.
Okay.
And I'm done. And I'm like, that's why I don't take mental health medication.
Okay.
So it was days.
Okay.
Not weeks, not months. It was days. Never got a prescription. It was just, here, try these.
Okay.
And see if this works for you. It was from a doctor.
It wasn't
from the bartender.
Yeah,
at the
it was
restaurant
from the pharmaceutical rep that was like, here, will you sell the, this? And the doctor was like, yes,
Right.
Here's the sample.
So I don't have experience with mental health medication personally, being on it myself, other than for 72 hours or something.
Wow. Okay.
And
It's not wow bad. I just like I'm hearing you. I'm learning more than what
Are you taking notes? Is this therapy?
No, this isn't therapy. I have so many notes over here. I need to just take them down and stop. Look at clean plate.
There you go. And so that was in my 20s. I was in therapy. I was going to a therapist. I thought that I was doing a good job, quote unquote. I liked therapy. I felt like it was beneficial for me. I did go to therapy for months.
Yeah,
maybe.
You had a therapist you liked.
Yeah.
You talked to me about him.
Yeah. So that was in my 20s. And then in my 30s, that's when everything kind of came to a head and went off the rails. I didn't do much for my mental health other than all the unhealthy coping mechanisms that I have. That's how I treated all the issues that I was experiencing. And like to be kind of specific about the issues that I feel like I have like some of those neurodivergent things, some ADD.
Yes, you do.
Some OCD. I have some panic disorders, like anxiety. Are you listing them?
No. I'm putting down my pen so I don't make noise.
Depression. There's been times in my life when I have really been deep into anxiety and depression, and definitely started to display, I think, some behaviors that were bipolar in nature, just real highs that resulted in real kind of manic behaviors and then real depressive lows that would last for an extended period of time. What else am I missing? Oh, fucking PTSD. What else am I missing? Just the big gorilla in the room, post-traumatic stress disorder.
CPTSD.
Yeah, Craig's post-traumatic stress disorder.
Oh shit. That's not what I was doing. Oh, I see that though. That's
No,
that's fun.
It's cute.
That's
yeah.
fun. Like,
No,
hey,
definitely complex.
Let's have
as
fun
well.
with our mental illness.
It's definitely complex.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I deal with. Those are
Yeah.
the things that I experience on a daily basis. And those are the things that I've only now within the last 5 years of my life really come to terms with and really brought awareness to. Prior to that, I wasn't looking at any of it.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was too distracted, looking in other ways to heal myself that weren't really addressing the issues. Still having copious amounts of unhealthy coping mechanisms that made life really challenging, made our relationship really challenging, just made everything really, really challenging, whether it was alcohol throughout different periods of time, cigarettes. Smoking is such the most beautiful,
Cigarettes.
greatest coping mechanism that God ever placed on this planet.
So glad we quit.
And
But how I miss thee.
yeah. Gambling. I've used gambling before.
Yeah.
Gambling's been an addiction for me over the years. Sex, work. I've definitely gone into those modes where I get super work oriented and obsessed with work and use work as a coping mechanism. So you can name all the coping mechanisms across the coping mechanism spectrum, and I probably got 90% of them that I've used over the course of my life at some point. Self-harm, do you know what I mean? I did a lot of that in my adolescence and teenage years. So the more that I learn about myself and the more that I kind of really start to take seriously my mental health and my emotional health, I realize how extensive it's been my whole life and how it's been a very big factor throughout my entire life. And it's something that I just haven't really dealt with or even had awareness of up until, truthfully, our relationship in the last 10 years, and then more seriously in the last 5 years.
Healing together.
And then really seriously in the last year and a half.
Right.
Yeah. So then finding a therapist last year and going through therapy on a regular basis and really diving into trauma from childhood and just the earliest childhoods, not even 8, 9, but, born and upwards from that point type trauma. And that's been so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. That's what we've been in the thick of the last few weeks and why it's been hard to come up here and record podcasts, because we've been doing a lot of work on our root chakras and our early childhood traumas and healing all sorts of different things that are just the kind of stuff that kind of wipe you out. And I was thinking about it too, because this podcast isn't a job, but there's times where it's job-like.
Yeah.
And it's trying to show up for work when you're fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's hard for us sometimes.
Coworkers pissing you off.
You gotta, I just go down that rabbit hole. But that's what it feels like sometimes. And I forget about, because we don't have a regular 9-to-5 job where we have to go to an office or we have to go somewhere, right? We have these beautiful jobs that we do from home and this entrepreneur thing that we're doing, and everything is wonderful and amazing because we can do it from the comfort of our home. And if we need a sick day or a mental health day, we can take it with relative ease.
Right?
But sometimes that's even challenging.
Yeah.
It's hard to take a day off from our life.
When our life is all of it's here too.
Yeah, all of it's here, right? It's I'm going to take a day off because I'm having issues with my mental health.
It's like going into work to take your day off.
Exactly. Going into work is coming out of the bedroom to sit at the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a brief overview. I don't know if you want to kind of do the same for yourself, and then we can.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to because you brought up stuff? Do you want to go into how you're feeling, or do you want to just
Let's start here.
Let's start here
and see where we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want it to be an episode of Craig's mental health. Right. It's not Craig's complex
It's not
PTSD.
I don't know, CPTSD. Like I feel like I no longer like, no, I'm just now just PTSD. That's why you don't like
SPSTDSS. Yeah.
I started hearing RESPECT.
Tell me what you mean to me.
Yep. I'm like, that's what I'm hearing. You want to give me some letters here? I'm just going to make it a song of positivity.
Yes.
That's been happening a lot lately. Something happened. Like we were talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah. It was our time travel.
And it hasn't stopped. Like people spark songs a lot and I'll hear the song lyrics, but it has been happening. Like I'm afraid like this is a new level of mental like that I've got. I'm like, I keep like bursting out into
music.
Oh my gosh. What was that one show we watched? With Anne Hathaway. And I believe she was bipolar. And do you remember?
Was it the True Love or the Love Show?
I think so. Because it was like, and then all of a sudden she would be having this great day and it was.
Hey, Mia. We're in the midst of the podcast. Is that cool and call you back or do you need something right now? Okay. I love you, Mia. I'll call you when we're done. Okay. We got like another half hour, maybe 40 minutes. Okay. I love you. Bye-bye. Back to Anne Hathaway.
Like there are a few people that we will always answer the phone for, even during a podcast.
Yeah.
And y'all have to be cool with that. And if you're not, click on. We will answer the phone for our babies always.
Anne Hathaway.
And she like busted out in like these like musicals where she was singing.
I think it was that Modern Love.
I think so.
On Amazon.
So I am this is a new level of crazy because like it'll just like take off all these songs. And I'm like, dun. I was dreaming songs and I can't remember it. So I don't know if that is a real song or not because I can't re-get it.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this is a beautiful thing
we'll
happening.
We'll see. I'm just now going to live my life as a musical.
Baby, you
and
have a
I'm
song
going to be a happy musical. We're not doing no Les Mis or anything here. No, there's no other Anne Hathaway musicals that can come into play.
You have a song inside of you that I think is coming out.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
So, okay. I don't remember where I was going with that. Where did I start before I got sidetracked?
Well, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, I will do that. But I feel like I had a point before that.
You just got squirreled because we were doing acronyms that were silly.
Is that all? I never even started.
Yeah, you didn't even start. You just are avoidant in regards to.
I
talking
am.
About your
I'm like,
health.
let's make jokes and sing songs.
Anyways, have you guys seen Anne Hathaway's latest film?
So we're okay. So mental health was not something that was allowed, accepted. It was either like you were fine or you were just lazy and pathetic or you were just beyond, you were just crazy and lost. So it was either healthy, pathetic, or gone.
Or just straight wackadoo.
Yeah. And then there's like no hope for you and now you're a threat. If you like, you're a threat to everyone. There's something in. So that wasn't like, I didn't like have these things. I started exhibiting signs of the trauma that I had experienced from a child. So massive amount of trauma from the get-go. And I didn't know though that this was things. This is stuff that I wasn't like a kid realizing that I was exhibiting these signs. It's now as an adult.
Looking back, right?
Yeah. I started cutting really, really young. I had never heard it. It was just something that I found to relieve pain.
Were you younger than 10?
Oh yeah. I was little.
Yeah.
I was little. And it was like little slits on the back of my hand and pins in my finger because those weren't they weren't visible. Mm-hmm. And it was like an accident. I don't even remember how I found it, but I remember somehow I had razors and I would just do these little lines and it would just be like a slit on the back of my hand that you would have that little burst of pain and it would feel better for a minute. And then I would see like there was no blood or anything. It was just this white. And then all of a sudden the blood would just like, whoosh. And then when I would bleed out, I was feeling better.
And so it was just like this weird stuff. And I would have these on the back of my hands, and it was like, oh, I got scratched by the cat. And that worked. That was like, I got scratched by the cat. So I even knew how to lie about it.
Yeah.
How does where does that come from? Right.
That's interesting.
Right. Being like, this is early 80s. This isn't happening on TV show.
Yeah,
you didn't know about it.
I didn't by the Bell.
I didn't learn this from anybody.
Where poor Jessie lost her mind.
I think that was diet pills.
Was she on diet pills?
I think that's what it was. Oh, no, it was like energy pills. So she could do her homework.
Yeah.
Because she was so excited. I know that episode.
So you didn't learn that on Saved by the Bell?
I didn't learn it.
Okay.
But somehow,
I think you did.
like, where, right? That's got to be a thing. So like somehow that was there. So does this go to your 30%?
Right.
The
Society, mom or dad.
or society, because that was there.
Yeah.
And then it also like progressed. So I then developed an eating disorder at a very young age and just kept going. But these were all things that were being hidden. Like I did get scolded when they figured out what was actually happening with that. And then I got, the fear factor came in, and like I got punished. And so I just got more creative. But so there was those things that I didn't see that was happening. And then I had no body, body autonomy?
Autonomy.
My body was not my own.
Yeah.
So all of these other, like, just kept going. The first time that I have more experience with, I don't mean like more experience. I'm really nervous. So I'm just going to give myself passes for misspeaking, saying things wrong, saying like, maybe like coming across insensitive, or this is hard and I'm just trying to get it out. So I'm just going to say the things and then go from there.
I think that's beautiful.
So massive trauma. This is assaults that have been ongoing. But when I was 16, it was an outside source or an outside assault. And I reported that and immediately was put on, because then like that was something that sent me to a therapist, but it was a phone call. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm so fucking nervous. I was like, oh, I can say all this fine.
I thought the same thing. And then I started to try to talk, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about this shit.
Anyway, so the therapist never saw me. Just had a conversation with my mom on the phone and put me on Prozac at 16. So that was my first experience.
Never saw you.
At that point, she ended up seeing me.
Okay.
But like, it was like, oh no, we've got the sexual assault starter on Prozac right now.
Prozac. Turn her into that docile thing
right?
that we can control.
So I got put on Prozac at 16 and I stayed on that one for a while. And that's also when I started self-medicating beyond alcohol and cigarettes. And marijuana. That's like the age when it was like I got this introduced, like other forms that I don't want to go into right now. So self-medication. And it was just, I was all over the place. I had massive amounts of trauma, and now I've got mind altering medication in, other self-medicate. I was all over. Like I needed help, but instead I was labeled I was just the bad kid, the bad kid, and hurting my parents, and everything that I was doing was wrong. And like, look what happened to this kid. Right. So here we go. And then getting off of that, I remember being mad and like coming out and being like, I don't think this is working.
Getting off the Prozac.
Yeah. And my mom being like, I don't think it's working either, because I was not. So that's how I just stopped taking it. And then life continues. I stopped seeing that therapist when I ran away from home. And then life continues, years down the road, enter into my own like trauma, family dynamics that now I'm creating instead of being a part. And so now I'm an adult, and I try to go to a therapist again. And no, it started first. My next round it came from my OBGYN, because after I had Asher, I just got like, I was having a hard time not with being suicidal. And it wasn't like right there. It was, you know, it
So you
took
had some
time.
postpartum?
Probably,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like immediately after. It was, I went to him after like I was done breastfeeding, which I did for over a year.
Totally postpartum, babe.
Well, it's postpartum, but you look at everything else. So I'm not just going to be like,
Right,
because they want to, this is like a problem that I'm getting like too, is they want to scoop it all into right here.
Right.
I have not been diagnosed with anything. So they scoop this right here. It's like, here, just take these that'll start. And I think it was, I think it begins with an L. It's a real common one. It's like Prozac.
Lorazepam?
No,
Lamictal?
no, it wasn't like these big names.
Lorax?
All I can think of is Loratab, but that's a painkiller. That's not it. But it's like these, whatever. It's similar to Prozac, and it's not a heavy. But it was like, here, take these.
I'm smiling at my Lorax.
You
missed
Lorax?
the Lorax.
I don't feel jokey right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm talking about like how dismissed all of the trauma was, and how medication was just thrown at it in really unhealthy ways, and how like, here's this, and now I needed to go. So I got it from the OB/GYN gave me this, and then I ended up having to pursue a little further, and I got put on, I don't remember what they were, but I was on these 2 different medications to try and help me deal with my sadness, because I needed to just exercise. I needed to just be positive. I needed to, nobody's saying anything or like looking beyond.
Is that stuff that they would tell you?
Yes.
Wow.
So we're not looking at anything beyond. It's just like what I'm doing wrong here and how I can do it better so I don't feel like this. And then when the medication was like, it's not working, so they give it the trial period, I'm sleeping and it's so tiring and it's wearing out your body till you start to adjust. And then after it hasn't adjusted, then they just up it. Mm-hmm. And then they just up it and they just up it. So I started to feel better, but more trauma kept coming in. And for a while I wasn't caring. It was like, it took me above the clouds, and I was happy. I was above the clouds. I was happy because I wasn't feeling all of the trauma that was still occurring.
Yeah.
And until the trauma kept getting worse and worse and worse, and more things kept happening. And then I started falling again, which I was like, I'm done. I'm done with medication. I'm done. So I just took myself off it the same way that they put me on it. I just weaned myself off it too fast, but I almost like, it messed with my head.
I bet.
It messed with my head really bad. So like, because of lack of support, medical professionals not looking at anything other than here's this, like I almost killed myself. And I know that was because of the medication, because how I did this. So I'm scared of that stuff. But it was never anything other than, yeah, this happened and this is how you can be positive about it. This is how, like, things to make you positive and help get out of this, like never changing the situation, never really looking like, oh my God, this happened to you. It's like, okay, so you're going to want to eat healthy and you're going to want to exercise. And it's just, it was all this bullshit. Never like, wow, I think that there's this here. I wasn't even diagnosed with anything. It wasn't even like depression or hair. It was just basically, you just need to do a better job. So that's how like women went through it. And of course you wanted to talk about anxiety or PTSD with me. And I'm like, I don't have that. I'm fine. Like
You're talking about earlier on in our relationship. Yeah.
So I didn't even get to where I am now until like this last little bit.
Right.
And so now I'm working with somebody who is healthy and is like hearing, and I'm getting a grip. I'm still struggling. I have so much trauma to come through. So my mental health is definitely based off of trauma, and it's probably genetic as well. So yes, depression, anxiety, PTSD and CPTSD are, that is definitely given. What's beyond that? I don't know.
Some of the neurodivergent stuff as well.
Yeah, neurodivergent.
And I don't necessarily think that's
ADHD.
mental health.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know that like here is all of this, and it has only been like written off as just kind of like woman emotional behavior that doesn't even need to look at. Here's this. Like I was never validated even by other women. Most of them were men, which was not a healthy thing. But I had like my first therapist that was terrible was a woman, and she was probably the most damaging. And so I had a really hard time with women, and I was also having a really hard time with men. So it's hard. It's a journey. It's a journey to find somebody who's actually going to listen, who's not just going to throw a pill at you. And if you do need mental health medication, that they're with you on that journey, and they're working with you and monitoring you. And there's this like relationship, for lack of better word, I don't know how to say, but they're like with you on your journey and not just throwing these mind altering drugs at you that could cost you your life. Like there's so much that needs to happen. So the awareness of it is like society, the medical health professionals, do better. And I think they're trying, because we are able to be with healthy people now. I feel like my support system, while I'm not on pharmaceuticals, has been the most beneficial. And it's, oh God, how do I say it? I hope any of this is coming out clear, because I just feel like a fucking idiot.
It is coming out clear, babe.
Why I feel validated, but it's not a validation in permission to, oh, this is just me now. I get to act this way because all of this is like, oh my, no, this is real. This shit happened. These are the outcomes, and we're moving forward. Instead of being dismissed as overreactive and emotional, and not even like so much of it, they give you the persona that you feel like you're just making it up. They don't even believe you.
Yeah, society
it's
as a
really
whole.
Shit. It's really hard. So that's my journey up to now, and the really short condensed version on how hard it has been. And it's not like, well, where's the positive things been? It hasn't been positive up until now, to where I've gotten real support. And it's been the hardest that it's been, because now we're really working on stuff and really digging up stuff and really looking into stuff. But it's the most support I've ever had. So it's the hardest part, and it's the best part now.
Yeah, it's so interesting, because I would agree, right? The level of stuff that we've been uncovering and working on, and the traumas that we're kind of healing through. This feels like, like the time period in my 20s, and, even in the first part of our relationship and the first part of our marriage, and for like the first 5 years or so of being together, those things were hard too. And what I mean by that is like I'll just speak for myself rather than say when I am disassociated from reality and from my experiences, and I am like knee deep, not even knee deep, like when I'm up to my neck in coping mechanisms, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's a hard way to live.
It is a hard way to live.
That's not an easy life. It's like torture and chaos and pain. And it's incredibly difficult to move through life that way, where everything is not just survival, but I hate that feeling. And we haven't lived that way in years.
Yeah.
Slowly and slowly and slowly, our coping mechanisms were shedding all the unhealthy ones that we've had.
We also, even though we didn't have the therapy support, however, we started doing real work together and inner work and seeking outside. We've been working.
Yes.
For the last decade.
Yes.
It's been.
We have.
Yeah. That deserves to be some celebration right there. We've been putting effort into ourselves, even though, I'm acknowledgement.
I acknowledge it. I think it's amazing.
I think it's very amazing.
Yeah. Like earlier you said there hasn't been any good. There's always good.
I meant positive experiences with therapists in the mental healing process up until this point. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had, like I said, I had my positive experience in therapy back in my 20s. But it's so fascinating to me how we think like we have this program that doctors or mental health professionals or, social workers, like there's this perception of this higher class or this group of people that have devoted their life and gone through education and gotten their degrees. And like we all hear about how hard it is to become a doctor and that grind and how big of a commitment it is. And then they become these people that we go to and that we look to. And the idea that they have any fucking clue what's going on is a misnomer. Like it's not to say they aren't educated or that they don't know and that they're not experienced, but the idea that they're somehow, I don't know, there's a fine line between like walking away from the establishment and thinking that it's all bullshit and then also just buying into it.
Yeah.
Like we saw that with 2020.
Yeah.
Where every single week they changed their mind about what we were supposed to be doing. And there were a lot of people that just went along for that ride, where this week we're wearing masks. This week we're not. This week we're social distancing. This week we're not. This week we're supposed to do this. This week we're not. And people that just went along for that ride thinking that's normal. We look to the people in charge and they tell us what to do. And they changed their minds, not because they're wishy-washy. It's just because more information becomes available.
Right.
And that's a factor, right?
That is a factor.
When you know better, you do better. And when you know more, you can do more. So that's definitely a
We're
factor.
big proponents of that.
Exactly. And there comes a certain point where you have to like really look at it and be like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you know what I mean? You had some experience with therapists that didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Didn't know how to help you.
Yeah.
And yet they were still trying to help you when they shouldn't have been, right? The acknowledgement is, I don't know what to do here. Rather than fake it and pretend and go back to a list of something that I was given when I went through medical school or went through training or whatever, I'm just going to be like, I don't know. Let's figure this out together.
Let's figure this out together. Let's refer you to somebody. Let's like refer, like we don't have to. That's another thing is that we're expected to have all of the answers.
Doctors
and the same with the doctor, like all of the answers or they're worthless.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but when you're pretending to have all the answers, you're causing harm.
Right.
Like, don't pretend. Like, it's okay to say, I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue this person might know. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden, like, you don't know everything, that you're garbage. No. Like,
and the other thing too, like this is a little bit of a side note, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole because this is one that is, we both have a lot of passion in this space too, but
it's going to get heated.
No, we're not. We're definitely not heated here. But these medications that are used are created by profit-oriented companies.
They are.
For profit.
Yes.
They're not companies that are out there doing things as a nonprofit, just at the grace of wanting to serve humanity. They are specifically creating products to sell you, period. Like there is no other way to look at it. And if you look at it from some other way, it's like the first and foremost thing that they're doing is they're selling a product.
Yes.
And so they're going to create products that they can sell first and foremost. And then maybe third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 18th down the line is this beneficial for the actual consumer, right? But first and foremost, it's profit-oriented creation of mental health medication that we can then sell to the masses.
Correct. And they create other ones based off of that medication.
Exactly.
Does it cause this side effect? Well, here, take this. It's a ching. Is this not working? That's okay. Add this one. Everything is like this. It's like the biggest MLM, like crazy. It is. Yeah. It's not for the well-being. Now, it's not saying that there isn't medication that is doing good and is keeping people alive. Like, I know that.
What I was highlighting with that statement.
That's right. You didn't want to rabbit hole because here we go. Like, excuse me, I'm rabbit holing.
The therapists and or doctors that don't do their due diligence before prescribing some medication are the ones that you should probably avoid seeing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, for example, with our vitamins, we didn't get prescribed our vitamins, right? We have a whole box of vitamins in our not in our basement, but downstairs. We have a regimen of vitamins that we take every single day.
Yeah.
Some of them I researched and I went and looked and I read articles and I found information and I listened to podcasts and I really tried to educate myself on whether or not this was going to be a beneficial thing to put into our bodies.
Yeah.
Right? And that's with a vitamin.
Right?
The idea that doctors aren't doing the same due diligence with medication, especially the fact that it's a new medication. See, we have this thing in our heads, this programming in our heads that society gave to us, that we can trust those people that are giving us those things.
Yeah.
That a new medication wouldn't be allowed to be sold to us unless it was safe.
Right.
And that is a thing that is wrong.
That's a lie.
That's a marketing tactic.
It's a lie.
That
It is a
the
lie.
pharmaceutical companies implemented.
Yeah. I won't even
Because-
mix words with that. That is a lie.
It is. It's just blatant ways to sell more products. We make you think that this is safe by telling you that it's safe. And then the entire culture deems that things that come down and that are FDA approved
Which is super safe.
are safe.
Yeah.
And then we find out that, see, we're getting a little too far down the rabbit
I
hole
know.
here.
Like, this is hard to not go down the rabbit hole.
So there's so many
I guess
factors.
It's yeah.
Mental health medication, antidepressants, anxiety, all these kind of things. There are medications that work and that can help.
And that there are people that really are benefiting
Yes.
from these medications.
Yeah, we're not in opposition to
Not
it in
at
any
all.
way. And
Safe, like
sometimes they don't work.
sometimes they don't work and they are massively overprescribed in ways that they do not need to be
Yeah.
to people that do not need them. And like they are more prescribed in children. Now, that book, I just want to go to that book, but it's to cover up those behaviors from a child that is not, as you said, being docile, that is saying trauma happened to me
Yeah.
and now this is how I'm behaving. And those are given to them just to cover up their behaviors, make them good, just good, well-behaved children, as all children should be. Just well-behaved, manners, never have it. Like, fuck that. What
That
is
idea
that?
too, because I don't think that's a way to look at what we're doing, right? Trying to make children well behaved so that we can control them easier and
Yeah, that is a way.
that they can go to school and they can fit into society.
Also, we're trying to help kids function from what they've been through so
Right.
they can go through.
So there are some ways to look at it where it's a beneficial thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think parents and physicians and therapists and things like that, I think the vast majority of them are out there trying to do the best that they can. Hold on. I have a point that I really want to make. The idea that the human is supposed to be perfectly balanced at all times is the problem.
That is the problem.
The idea that we aren't supposed to experience good and bad things, and that we aren't supposed to have a wide range of emotional states over the course of history, time, every single day, every week, every month, right? And that the goal is just some sort of perfectly balanced human is the misnomer.
It is.
That's the thing that we have to get away from, because it's always like we're striving for this balance, and yet it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then something's wrong with us because we're out of balance, right? That is the thing that I think if we could just like really wrap our brains around, if you aren't perfectly balanced, that's not an indication that something is wrong.
Yeah.
That is not an indication that there is anything wrong with you. If you are feeling sad, depressed, suicidal, lonely, yes, those feelings, thoughts, and experiences are really, really hard to feel, and they're hard to experience, and they're hard to go through, but that's not an indication that there's anything wrong with you,
It's definitely an indication that you need to reach out for help.
right? It's an
This
indication
isn't
that you
something
are
you go through
feeling
by yourself.
something,
Yeah.
that you're having an emotion, and that
Yeah.
you're feeling something. And I'm not minimizing the really dark ones.
Yeah.
You
And
I
need support through.
You and I both have experienced them. But the idea that somehow, let's figure out the quickest way to get you back to the middle ground. No,
Sometimes you gotta take that long way.
it's not. I mean, it's just a circle.
You think it's a circle? Yeah, because it keeps going back. It keeps definitely. I can I definitely see that. I think I'm like really squirreled in my brain right now because like I like it. Oh my gosh, how am I going to even get this out? This is such a charged topic for me. And so I'm really trying my best here. I think just like how you like gave another example with like kids being medicated. I'm not opposed to children having these medications. I am opposed to children just being medicated and then like doors closed, eyes closed, not like looking at what has happened. Did something happened? Like that's going to be something that needs to be felt and worked through continuously. Are they in an environment where it's still happening? Just throwing medication on it isn't going to help. And it's like if there's parents out there that are hearing that I'm shaming them for putting their kids on medication. Nope. That is a hell of a decision to try and make. Do I medicate my kids? Do I not medicate my kids for this? Something happened. Is medication the healthy route or is medication going to hurt them? That is an impossible decision to make. Yeah, parents have to make that decision. You don't know if you're making the right or wrong decision. You just make the decision that you make and you hope with everything that you have that it's the right decision for your kid because you don't know. You don't know. And it's just up to you. Whether you're taking them to this doctor or not taking them to a doctor, hell, whether you're vaccinating or not vaccinating, you don't know. You are just doing your best. It's not a shame. It's like also, this is what's happening. Is this what's happening here? This is not healthy. This isn't like, don't use it as a cover up. I'm not against it. I just don't. I am 100% against the way that it's being used.
Yeah. Well, you have experience with it, babe.
I do.
I mean, that's literally what they did.
And it's scary.
They threw Prozac at you and figured that was going to fix the problem.
And then when it didn't, it's my fault.
Right.
Like all of these things that just keep going. Obviously, there's more to the story than just that, but it's just so hard. And then trying to make the decision for you is this, and then trusting yourself when you're on these mind altering things. What are you feeling? It's so hard. Trying to decide what's best for your kids. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. It's like I don't know what the answer is when it comes to medication, but I know I know it needs to be more. I know therapy is.
That's the thing. We don't know what the answer is because there isn't an answer. There isn't one thing that is going to fix all of these things for everybody, right? There's a multitude of things. We're going to wrap up because we've got some other things to do today.
Okay. I feel like we just like basically started this conversation. We didn't even like get into
what else,
right? Okay. Well, we can leave it here. I think we should pick it back up another time. Not that there's a part 2 because we don't have time to record today, but
we got more time.
No, we'll wrap it up. It's good. Just looking at you're not broken. Like if there's more ends of the spectrum than perfectly balanced, just not doing enough and you're the problem and you're fucked. Everything is like, there's nothing like, there's more to that. The stigma with mental health and the stigma between, oh my gosh, that's so much. There's so many rabbit holes. We'll just stay there because it goes into gender, it goes into race, it goes into like so many factors that I can't even like hit right now. I could say for the next 10 minutes and even Google and try and come up with everything. And I wouldn't be able to. There's so many things that it goes into.
Go ahead. One of the people that we follow on social, I should pull her up so I can give her a shout out. I don't remember. It's Elise.
Oh, Myers.
I think. She does great stuff.
Yeah.
But she's on the spectrum of all sorts of different things. And she had a reel this morning that I saw where she was talking about how everybody wants to, everybody is supportive and engaging when she posts a reel about something that happened 7 years ago that was because of mental health issues, but was a traumatic experience or a triggering thing that she went through. Mm-hmm. But now 7 years later, she can joke about it and she can laugh about it and she can make a funny reel about it. But then when she wants to post something about this is happening to me right now, and this is what I'm experiencing today, and this is what I'm going through today, people don't want to engage with that. Like, people don't want to look at that. People don't want to, it's only fine if we can laugh about it, and if you can laugh about it. But if you actually want to show up in a present moment experience of what's happening right now, and that's really uncomfortable, go do that over there somewhere so that we don't have to see it. And then when you can make it funny again 7 years from now, then come back and we'll laugh at it and we'll talk about it. But we don't want to deal with it right now when it's happening, what you're going through right now. And that is such an accurate description of what society does, right?
Yeah.
Oh, are you having a hard time? You should go get some help for that. Go over there.
Or suck it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad. Your dog
that's
died.
how you're going to choose to go over this, really?
Yeah, that's tough.
Milking it, you being a little over dramatic.
Or do you need a little...
this is not the platform
do you
for
need
that.
some time by yourself? No, I don't need time by myself. That's the problem. Right? I need help. I need compassion. I need love. I need support. I need people. I don't need time by myself to, are you sad? Do you need some time alone?
Right?
No. I'm sad and I need some people around me to help me feel better.
And how do people get treated when they seek out that?
Right.
We're get help. Okay, I seek it out and then I'm ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
I'm just being trying to go for attention, being over dramatic, just trying to bring everything down, trying to suck the energy out of it. There's so many different ways. It's do this. This is the answer. Okay, you did that. This is why you're wrong. Now you're being this. It's the only answer always comes to, you just must be balanced all the time.
Yeah. Right.
Like you said.
Got to be in that perfectly balanced, centered place of function. Otherwise, society doesn't really have a place for you. Like you said, we just barely scratched the surface of this stuff. And resources, there are copious amounts of resources. Some are better than others. And truthfully, there isn't a one-all fix. And there isn't even there isn't really great mental health resources still in the world.
There's organizations that try.
Yeah, there's a lot of organizations that try. One of them is NAMI.
I was just going to say NAMI.
Yeah, so it's
NAMI.
NAMI.org. It's National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's at least a great place to start.
Yeah.
And it's a great place that's going to have a multitude of information and resources across the country. Local chapters, local organizations, local groups, but it's NAMI, NAMI.org. Go there and it's just a great resource. Also, there is, I think, starting in, let me pull it up real quick so then I'm not giving misinformation. Because another lady that we had on the podcast just posted about this.
Michelle Pomeroy?
No.
Which is also a good resource. Elena?
Yeah. Hold on, I'm finding it.
You
It's
got
the
this.
suicide hotline.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 988 is a 3-digit. 988 has been designated as the new 3-digit dialing code that will route callers to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
How cool is that?
So this dialing code will be available to everyone across the United States starting July 16th, 2022. So that I think that's accurate.
I want to do some more research on that. I love that. And I think that's a good thing. Mike, is that's going to mental health professionals.
Correct.
Instead
so
of police now.
Correct. There's a
Which
national
is-
suicide.
Do we hear that?
Yeah, there's a National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, right? It's 1-800
Yeah.
something or another.
But
The
now you're
current-
not looking up that. It says 988 and you're
Exactly.
boom, 911. Only when you need that help, you don't need a cop to show up for these things. You need somebody in mental health that can help walk.
Yes. And so that's what it is. It's 988. So you've got 911 for emergency services, everything like that. And starting in July of 2022, here in the U.S., you'll be able to dial 988, and that is a national suicide hotline.
That's a pretty big deal, I think.
That is a big deal.
That's a really big deal.
Because suicide is massively, hugely, epidemically an issue in culture and society. And nobody likes to talk about it, look at it, feel it, express it, deal with it. and it is everywhere. It's just everywhere. In every walk of life, every experience, every family, every person, every culture, every society, every community deals with suicide in the sense that it happens, and it's something that people do, and it's something that people think about, and it's something that people experience. And it's like all of these other issues that the more we can talk about them and bring them forth.
I don't think there's a single person on this planet that has not been touched by suicide, either with suicidal thoughts
Or will be.
or know somebody that like that's something that is like we're not
a part of life, unfortunately.
We're not escaping that one, which means we shouldn't have to be alone.
Right.
Like we're literally all in this together. So why are we not supporting each other?
Exactly. So those are some good resources for some help. And yeah, everybody needs it. Everybody needs help. We are all experiencing all of these things. We talked a little bit about ours and what we deal with on a daily basis. And we are in our 40s. Like Steph just celebrated her 42nd birthday. And
42.
we are just now beginning the healing journey of really addressing our trauma and our mental health issues.
Yeah. It's like, it feels like that. It's our whole thing has been just now. The last 10 years has felt like just now.
Right.
And now like where we're at, we're like, okay, now we're really,
Finally.
but we've been peeling back these layers for so long that's like, hey, just now.
Yeah.
And like having awareness, my new thing, and I'll just give it back. And this is where we'll end. Like, let's get together and give ourselves reward and celebrate accomplishments, because we're not doing that. We're just now, not like, look at all of this. My goals that have been like, this is where I need to go. It's always looking at the next goal. And like, this is where you're at. And when you hit this level, like that's your line now. That's where you're supposed to maintain. Mm-hmm. Like this is your new, like you don't dip below this. So you're just setting yourself up for constant failure when you keep moving your own goddamn bar and never letting yourself be celebrated and accomplished. So it's like, no, let's like take the bar away. There's no bar. Where are you at? What are you doing right now? Did you show up?
Much.
Like, yeah, you did. We're going to celebrate this. What is actually real? Not like this fantasy thing where you've set this bar. Like, what is real? What is happening right now? So yes, we are just getting into it. And this is a journey that we have been on for years.
From birth.
For years.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last 10 years have been where we went whoop, and have been learning and clusterfucking our way through it. And we have done so much work to get to where we are, to where now we're this layer.
You know, it's truthfully,
I'm so proud of ourselves.
I'm so proud of us too. And it's truthfully like we've been healing since birth. And the baby that comes out into the world is just constantly moving towards love.
Right.
Constantly moving towards healing and love and this really pure place that it just came from, right? Mm-hmm. I just came from this really pure place, and I'm trying to get back to that really pure place. And you and I have been doing that work. And over the course of our life, we just get better and better and better at it, right? Yeah. We have little kid coping mechanisms that grow into teenage and then adult coping mechanisms. And eventually we start to peel those layers back. Wow. So we have been healing and killing it in the most positive way possible for the last 40 plus years.
Yeah. Are you still here? Are you listening to this? You're here. You're listening.
And if you're not,
you're like, even if you're not listening, but if you've been doing the same thing. Like, we will just look at this, like, we're not going to go to the esoterics and the spiritual realm, but like, just like right here where you are, with your feet on the ground. Are you still here? You've been moving towards love. Doesn't matter what it's looked like. You have been trying because you're still here, which means you've never given up. You've never given up. You have been winning.
Yes. And those that quote unquote gave up, that's not a give up. That's not a failure. That's okay.
Yeah.
All of it's okay. Yeah.
I was definitely not minimizing the pain in that, but I really think it's important that the people that are here are celebrating themselves.
I agree.
Because they're here.
Should we celebrate the rest of the day?
Yeah.
Let's throw a party.
It's a party day. I'm going to party.
like it's 1990. Okay, we're not going to break into a song again.
It's all right. There's so many people. How many people you think listen to this that weren't even alive in 1990? Like, what? You want to? Okay.
I know, that's old. You guys are really old. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Okay, let's go. We
Yeah,
gotta wrap
get
up.
out of here.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for
Bye.
listening to the Energy is Love podcast.